Gemara. Today's daf Ches. We are up to the Mishnah and daf Ches Amud Aleph. We're learning about those who go to Golus if they kill someone inadvertently. B'shegig. Says the Mishnah. Hazoidik even l'shus rabim. You toss a stone into the street and v'harag, and you killed someone by mistake. Hareza goyle, you go to exile. Obviously, it's difficult to understand because you throw a rock and people are walking down there. That's not called a mistake. The Gemara will explain what happened there. Rabbi Eliezer ben Yaakov says, if when you threw this, at the time when you threw the stone, there was nobody there. And then after you hurled the stone into the air, somebody popped the head out and they got hurt or got hit and they got killed, then you don't have to go to exile. That's like an accident. The guy stuck his head out. You're a potter. And why should be potter? Whether the head was there or not there, we're talking about you didn't know it was there. So what's the difference when he stuck the head out? So obviously you'll have to learn from a pasuk, as we'll see in the Gemara. If he threw a stone into his own courtyard, the harder going to kill someone, so it depends. If that person had a right to be there, then goyle, you go to exile. It's a mistake. But if not, ainu goyle. Now, if a person had a right to go there, you threw, it's more than just a mistake. You know that people there, you invited them. So the Shem say, here we're talking about the case is that you gave him permission to come whenever he wants, but he hardly ever comes, or it doesn't come that often. So therefore, it's an accident. But if he had no right to be there, then ain't no goyle, shenema. As it says, we already had it before, as it says, that you encountered your friend Biyar, or you encountered your friend Biyar in the forest. Everybody has a right to be there. Everyone has a right to be there. So it has to be a property. If it's in your property, only if that guy had a right to be there. Yotza, Chotza, Balabai. The exception is the courtyard of Balabai. There's no permission there for the Nizik to go there, to go there. Abba Shol comes along and says another interesting thing. Ma chatavas eitzim reshus. It says you were chopping wood in the forest, just like you were chopping wood because you wanted to, for whatever reason. Av kol reshus. If you're chopping for any some reason and you kill someone by mistake, you're chayv. But yotza, the exception is ha'ova makas b'loy. If a father is doing a mitzvah and while he's striking his son, he kills him, or a rav or the same thing as a teacher doing it to his students. Interesting, the fact that we changed the expression from makkah to roida sounds more like a teacher really should avoid hitting their child, hitting their students. It's only a roida they're trying to control, and sometimes, you have to resort to that. The shliach bezin, or a shliach bezin. A shliach bezin, what? This is the person of bezin who administers the 40 malchus, and if by mistake he killed someone. And what actually happened here is that he add one more malchus, he made a mistake in the calculation. And so that's how Rashi learns. We're talking about he made a mistake here. The Rambam, however, learns is talking about a shliach bezin. Somebody is trying to subpoena someone. Every time someone tries to subpoena someone, people run away. So he chased after him, whatever it is, and he killed him by mistake. So the Rambam says that's what we're talking about. The Rambam holds, not like the Raiva, but the Rambam holds that if his taka was a shliach bezin administering the malchus, he wouldn't go to Golus. He might go to Golus because if he did one more than he should, it's no longer a mitzvah. So what do you mean that it's a mitzvah? Okay, so the Gemara first explained, if you threw a stone into the street, you're amazing. We're talking about you were breaking your wall down and one of the rocks fell over and he had killed someone. No, it's negligent. You should have looked outside. You should have rabbim. You did it at night. Nobody walks the streets at night. But even at night, you still have to be reckless just to go ahead and break your wall down in a public place without looking to see nobody's there. So he says, you're destroying your wall and it's going into a tip. And because it's going to a tip, it's not a public place. But let's understand, this ashpa, this public tip that people throw things into it. What are you talking about? If there's a multitude of people that go there, again, you had no right to break a wall into the ashpa, knowing that people frequent there all the time. So you're not a shaking. And if you don't find many people there, then honestly, then that's mamash and einis. Amar Papa says that Papa like la ashpo asuya lefanas ba balayla the ain asuya lefanas ba b'yom. At night, people frequent there and they do their things there as well. But by day, people generally don't frequent it. But the Ika, the Mikra, the Yosit, sometimes, occasionally, somebody would go there by day. So you did this by day, you broke your wall down. No longer we're saying by night, now it's by day. You're not negligent, you can't say you're mamish negligent. It's very uncommon. Because that does happen occasionally. So therefore, we hold you responsible, and you have to go to a Golas. Rabbi Lezer ben Yaakov comes along and says it depends when the person stuck his head out. If when at the time when you tossed the stone, his head wasn't there, then you don't go to Golas. And the obvious question is why not? What's the difference if the head was there or not was there? Either way, you didn't know that it was there. It was a shaygig. Torah about me learn because of the language of the pasuk. So you want to talk about me learn. It says the pasuk that you go in the forest to chop wood, and then a piece goes flying. We had the machlekes before Rebbe coming. What piece we're talking about? The tree, or we're talking about the hand, the blade from the axe itself. Anyhow, it met your friend, and it says there umatza esre'eyu. Umatza, you found. Now, usually when you find something, that means the object was already there before. So umatza means that was already there before. So the same thing over here. The head was already sticking out the window. You weren't aware, so you're shaking. So Tarabanan, we learn umatza. It says in the pasuk umatza, you found it that was there already before even you started chopping your own wood. Pratla mamtes atzma. The guy then stuck his head out himself after you already started chopping the wood. Then you are potter because it happened afterwards. Says the Gemara, Mikan. Omer Rabbi Yaakov. So here Rabbi Yaakov learns, Imishi Yatzos Ev Meyode, after the stone went out of your hand. Hoitzi Halos Roisha, that person stuck his head out, Vikibla, and he got hit on the head and he got killed. Potter. Says the Gemara, remember, so what are you trying to tell us? The Matzah Mikora Mashma. Matzah, you found something. So found something means that the object was already there. So matzah means it was already there. So let me ask you a question. For the meaning, the din is if you sell a house and you have no breda, or you sell a field for family inheritance, we give you the option of the first year that you can force the buyer to sell it back to you. Minus whatever it is. But you can force him to sell it to tell you. So you force back to sell it back to you. So we learn, it says in the pasuk there, umatzah. Let's say you have no one to buy, you have no cousins or anybody else who can do you a favor and redeem the field, and then suddenly you made money. You see, you made money. So then it is umatza kedegulasa. It says that you made money and you have now enough money to buy the field back. Use the word matzah. So the Braisa says a matzah means you just got it now. If you already had the money at the time, but you decided to sell your property, and now you want to force the buyer, you change your mind, you can't. The only time you can force the buyer is you were destitute, you had no bread, you sold the field, and now you made some money, so you want it back. So we have a certain period of time that you can get it back. Between a house or a field, you can buy it back. So we see there the word matzah is used just the opposite. Well, matzah there, prat l'matzui. Matzah means now you encounter the money. It wasn't there before, and before you said that matzah means like an object was always there. So, and we say, you shouldn't now, you had properties before, but they were far away, and now you want to sell them, and with that money, you're going to buy this back. That means you already had the properties before. So that's not a matzah. Matzah means you just got the money now. You already you could have done this a year ago. Or let's say you have poor fields. So now, and the field that you sold was a good field. So you want to sell the poor quality field and the money buy back, but you had the money before. So what's going on here? So it's not a kasha. The word matzah is very fluid. It depends on the context. Each one have to look at the context. It's a clear passing the hisiga yada. It means you just came across money. So then obviously matzah means it just happened. Now, af matzah now it happens now. It says you went out into the forest and you started chopping. So we're comparing, and then possibly you found it came across this person. The forest is standing before you start chopping it. Before. So comes along. Then the Gemara says Abashol. Abashol comes along the Chiddush and says that if what you're doing is a mitzvah, then you don't go to Golos. You don't need the kapar of Golos, or a father smacking a child, a teacher smacking a child, or what do you call it? Or Shliach Bezdin. And we had Machlekes Rashi Rambam. How do I know all this? Because it says you're chopping wood. Chopping wood is only Rishus. Who told you that the wood that you're chopping is merely a Rishus? Dilma, the sukkah. Maybe you're chopping wood for your sukkah. and that's a mitzvah. You need mitzvah sukkah. Umat was 18 the marach, or you're chopping wood for the mizbeach, and therefore it's a mitzvah. Maybe the Torah is telling that even though you're doing a mitzvah, if you kill someone by mistake, you have to go to Golus. So right now the Gemara thinks that chopping wood for the sukkah is a mitzvah. He said to him, if let's say you don't need to chop wood because you can buy wood already cut up. Lav mitzvah, there's no longer a mitzvah to go chop wood. It's hashanami lav mitzvah. So too now, even if you're chopping wood for the sukkah, it's not a mitzvah. As the Ritva says, it's not a hidden mitzvah. It's not it's nothing. Now Rashi says here a very important Rashi here. I'll just quote you the Rashi. Hashtanami kiloi motzah. So now also kiloi machatuva. Even though you didn't find any chopped wood, so you have to go personally and chop it. Ein hachatova mitzvah. The chopping the wood is so distant from the actual sukkah that it's not a mitzvah. Ella, the next two words of Rashi, asiyas hasukah. Rashi holds building the sukkah is a mitzvah, not the chopping the wood because it's one step before. You don't need to chop the wood; you can find wood. So it's the asiyas hasukah. You have to build a sukkah either. If you found you have a sukkah from last year, you have to build another one. At least you have to do a chiddush dover. You have to do something. And here you have to, if you bought the wood in the strip, you have to do nothing more than that. You don't have to go chop, you don't have to do anything. As we know, the Avineza and all that, we have the Mishnah Shavuot, the Chavtes, which we're actually going to learn later. It sounds there, if you make a Shavuot not to build a sukkah, one of the eyes they bring that there is a mitzvah to build a sukkah, and besides Taisus and Sukkah of Mavoda, who brings the make a bracha from Yerushalmi, so Yerushalmi definitely holds a mitzvah in building a sukkah. Is the Gemara in Ksubas that Pevov, but the Gemara says, somebody doesn't do a mitzvah. I say, it's kaifin say nafshe. One of them is Oimer Eini Oisa Sukkah. Doesn't say Eini Yoshev Sukkah. It says Eini Oisa Sukkah. That means that l'chayda. That's one of the rayas that they bring. Maybe there is a mitzvah. Yet our Gemara holds you don't make a bracha. We'll talk about it when we get more shus. Talking about right, and this is the Rashi clearly says there's a mitzvah in building a sukkah. Saying what but there's no mitzvah in chopping wood. That's a question. So you're telling me that if you could have gone without it, and even if you do it, it's not a mitzvah to pat you from Golus. The exception is the father who strikes the son of is a tamida. Again, you see the difference, which is it says a roida by a teacher and makkah by a father, which obviously is not the same thing. So a teacher really shouldn't be smacking unless he has his main thing is roida to have control and discipline. The shler bezen lema, let's say the same thing. Even the if the kid doesn't need to be smacked, doesn't need to be disciplined, he already learned, doesn't need to learn anymore, then lav mitzvah, there's no mitzvah. So using your logic, hashtanami lav mitzvah, so even when you do need it, it's not really mitzvah. Just like by sukkah, you just said you can buy if you can buy the wood, then chopping not a mitzvah. Says the Gemara, no. The mitzvah of a parent disciplining the child never stops. Avagav the gum mitzvah. Even though the kid learned already and knows everything, there's still a mitzvah to discipline the child, continuously discipline. How do I know that? It says in Pasuk, Yase bincha, you should go ahead and you should discipline your child. And leave him. He will give you madanin to your nefesh, or like nachas. So some the machlekes which words exactly are we learning from? But the bottom line is that you should continuously discipline your child. Then Rabbi said, "Lav milsi damri." I changed my mind. Rabbi did this quite often. He wasn't embarrassed to come in the next day and say, "What I said to you yesterday was wrong. This is the pshat." Lav milsi damri. What I said is not right. It says in the pasuk, "Va'asher yov." I'll bring you a pasuk to prove to you that it's talking about rishus, not mitzvah. It says there, you meet your friend in the forest. In the forest, you want, you can go. You don't want, you don't have to go. Nobody has to go in the forest. And that's what we learned from Yah. Open, we said before, it's open to everybody. And also, if you want to go, you go. You don't want, you don't go. And if you're telling me it's a mitzvah, you have to go ahead and chop wood. Then he has to go into the forest. So, the big machlek is a shayim here. So what does Rabbi actually say here? The way Pashup Pshat is that the way Rashi learns, he didn't change his mind that there's no mitzvah in building a sukkah. He didn't change his mind at all. But he's saying, yeah, I don't have to come on to that. I can just tell you there's a pasuk. The pasuk, we're comparing to a yar. A yar means it's optional to be there. But if there's a mitzvah, you have to be there, then that's not included in this din of Golus. Tosfos, Mishans, and it's quoted by Azor Shainim, learns he changed his mind. There's actually taka a mitzvah to chop wood. And he said, well, I said before that there's no mitzvah chopping wood is wrong. He didn't forget about building a sukkah. Let's go back a step. That this whole savara, that because if I can buy wood, therefore even if I chop wood, there's no mitzvah, he doesn't agree with. The fact that you're doing a mitzvah, I can avoid doing that mitzvah, I'm still doing a mitzvah. No, so how do I know? From the pasuk Mayar. It says Asher Yavoy. Asher means if he happened to go in. If it's optional. So he said to him, you tell me if it says Asher, it's optional. Tell me when it says in the pasuk, if a person became tummy, it says Asher Yitma, and the loy is chat, and he doesn't go ahead and purify himself, and then he goes into the base of Mikdash, he gets kaddish. So he asked Asher boy what? He's telling me Asher means you have a choice whether to come tummy and not to come tummy. So Gemara says, what about mes mitzvah? So if I dash the way you dash like this, when do I get cutters for walking the base of Mikdash? Asher. I had a berei to become tamei not. I became tamei. Then I walked to the base of Mikdash. Mikdash am timei. Get killed. But what happened? I became tamei because I went to mes mitzvah. Then I walked the base of Mikdash. I should be all right because it's not Asher. I didn't have a berei according to your logic. What about mes mitzvah? Rashi in other places said that Meis Mitzvah, doesn't say it here, but Meis Mitzvah does not mean Meis Mitzvah. Meis Mitzvah means even family, the 7 Kravim, and not only a Kohen, it's Mitzvah for everybody. Doesn't mean Meis Mitzvah literally. How can I the Potter? According to your logic, so the answer is because in the Pasuk, Tamei Yeh. It says in the Pasuk, Tamei Yeh, he should be Tamei. Mikol Makam. I don't care how he became Tamei. If he happens to be Tamei, Yeh includes even mitzvahs. So the Gemara, what are you talking about? That Tamei we for another altogether. That even if you're still lingering with Tumah, you already went to the mikveh, but you have to wait till to have Shemesh and then Mechutz Kippurim. So Tamei tell you that even if any stage of Tumah is still available. Tumah say boy that I'm Mechutz Kippurim, that they still have the Tumah. And they're still chayv in the walking the base of Mikdash. I'm actually learning from the pasuk the word it says oid. It says in the pasuk here, what does it say oid? It says oid to masaboy. That oid to masaboy is an extra drasha. Oid still has 2 minutes, and that still has 2 minutes. It can either be used for even the mitzvah or to use for these Tulyain and Mechutz Kippurim. This whole discussion about you could have avoided it, and we learned it's talking about our mission over here that whether you go to Golos or not, the same discussion is about another machlekes. It goes as follows. It says there that you should rest from plowing and you should rest from harvesting. And even though the pasuk is talking about talking about Shabbos, comes on Rabbi Kiva and he says it says Shesham Tabid, and the 7th day you should rest. So Kiva says it can't be talking about Shabbos. Sorry. Rabbi Kiva says over here that we're talking about a Shemitah, and the pasuk is talking about is a pasuk. How do I mean Shemitah? How does Shemitah come in? We're talking about Shabbos. But it can't be talking about they cannot be talking about Shabbos because there's so many other malachas. Why talk about Chodesh v'Katzeh? That's 39 malachas. So we're not talking about Shabbos. We're talking about something else where only Chrisha K'tzir is also Shemitah. So he says, I'm talking about Shemitah. Now, even though I'm making a chiddush about Shemitah, it can't be talking about Shemitah either. Why? Because the other psukim it tells you already you're not allowed to. We already know that you're not allowed to. Even if you plowed before Shemitah in order to be able to plant the Shemitah, or or you harvested in Shemitah not to take it in Shemitah, but afterwards. In these cases, you're over as well. Like Tosfos, we added onto it. Rabbi Shmuel says, no. You know what I need to call it to be Kotcha Tishba is I need it for Ma chorish reshus. What can't I do in Shemitah? Only a chorisha which has no mitzvah. Oh, I'm going back. I'm talking about Shabbos. Don't go with Shemitah. And on Shabbos itself, that what is also a charisha of reshus. All charishas are reshus. Why plowing? There's no mitzvah plowing. Is avkat to reshus. Also harvesting is also only is optional. To know which when is a mitzvah to harvest. Yotzek tira oime shu mitzvah. Harvesting the oime, which is a mitzvah, that you can do even on Shabbos. Now the same discussion. Maybe and I feel you have to plow. You're plowing for a mitzvah and and yet the Torah says that even though you're doing a mitzvah, you should rest. And forget, you're not allowed to harvest for a mitzvah. Amalei, he said, no, Kimni Matzah Chodesh, Einu Chodesh. We found a field that's plowed. You don't have to plow. You're not allowed to, there's no mitzvah to plow a new field. You plow a field in those areas near Yerushalayim. There's a lot of mitzvah. The same thing over here. Same discussion. Unfortunately, I have a hard time understanding. What are you comparing plowing to harvesting? First of all, why do you have to plow the African Shabbos? Plow on Sunday. It's so much months away and it will grow. And how do you know this is the field they're going to take from? And how do you know Bechal is going to be good? How can you say there's a Charisha mitzvah? How do you know that's going to work out? You already have it right in front of you. So therefore we say it's a mitzvah, you're going to cut. But the whole idea of Charisha mitzvah for Omer, they find a hard time understanding how that works. Eisvei Ravina Rabba. Ravina asked Rabba a question. Yotav the exception is the father who strikes his son, Varava is the middle, or a teacher who's raised his Talmud, and the Shaliach Bezin. Using your logic, since you can avoid it, it's not a mitzvah. So we answer, it's still a continuous mitzvah. It says, this svara that I'm saying, that if you could avoid it, therefore it's not a mitzvah, you don't have to say. So I'm going to go back to Ktira, I'll say the different svara. Ktira dumi the charisha. The Ktira is just like the plowing. Ma charisha matzah chodesh einu koitzev. Is einu chodesh. Av Ktira nami einu koitzev. Just like charisha, right? Charisha, you don't have to plow. So the Ktira must be similar to charisha. You don't have to harvest. The Yitzhak that mitzvah, matzah, kotzer, einu koitzev, mitzvah, litzah, lahavi, the mitzvah to bring it. So as a raya, we're talking about just like Chadish is a shoe. So therefore, if you found a field that's Chodesh, there's no unit Chodesh. So Kotzer also, you don't have to be Kotzer. But Ktira, you don't have an option. Chadisha, you have an option, right? You don't have to Chodesh. But Ktira, you don't have an option. So therefore, what kind of Ktira are we comparing to Chadisha? Only Ktira, which you have an option. No, by Chadisha, if you found the field. So Ktira, if you have an option that you don't have to harvest, okay, so it's also on Shabbos. But Ktira of mitzvah, you don't have an option. You have to harvest. If you found kotzer doesn't help, you have to do the Shema. We'll learn in Menachos all the activities that happen. Says the Mishnah right there, if a father kills his son, he'll end up in Golis. And if a son killed his father, he goes to Golis. Now, we just said a minute ago, a father hits the son, he doesn't have to go to Golis. We want to explain. Hakol going to Yisrael. Anybody kills, he goes to Golis. Yisrael going like that, and then Yisrael kills them, they also go to Golis. If a Yid kills, right now they're going to think if a Yid kills a Ger Toshev or a Ger Toshev kills a Yid, there's no Golis. The Ger Toshev ain't a girl like the Ger Toshev, and the Ger Toshev is not going to Golis unless he kills another Ger Toshev. Says the Gemara, first of all, let's understand. How good are they? Ben, you said Yotzah B'Makeh B'Noid. You said a father is potter. The Gomer, the kid finished learning. You said the Gomer Mitzvah Gomer. Even though the Shulya the Naga teach him carpentry. That was a trade. Shulya Naga Chiyusahu the Lamdei Sosa Mitzvah. We learned that a father has to teach a son a trade. The Gomer he already knows another trade. He doesn't need you need to teach a trade of parnasa. He already has another source of parnasa, and therefore there's no mitzvah. The father he kills him with chayiv. But the Gemara doesn't say simply that he fell off the ladder. And he killed the son. Nothing to do with disciplining. No, but Pashas, there's no chiddush in that. Why should the father be different than anybody else? Anyhow, then Mishnah I've been going there. If he killed his father, but we looked at Braisa, Make nefesh. If he killed a nefesh, prat lemaka ovid. If he says a Make nefesh, if you kill someone b'shegeg, is prat lemaka ovid. You don't go to Golis. Why? In other words, the only reason you'll get killed is if you kill this person. So then, if you kill the b'shegig, you go to Golos. But with the father, even if he didn't kill him, you just made a chabura, you just made a wound on the father, you also get killed for that. So the chayda, it doesn't come under nefesh, and therefore maybe you shouldn't go to Golos if a kid kills his father. Those Aveda is so strict that who says that kapar of Golos will work out? Says the Gemara, you're right, it's a machlekes. Like Kash Harab Shimon, Harabon, we have the Bryce that says you don't go to Golos. Is it Rab Shimon? And now Mishnah Rabban. What's going on? Rab Shimon, we had a machlekes Sanhedrin where the chenek is stricter than Saif. For giving a chabura to your father, you get chenek. For doing Saif, for killing somebody, you get the punishment of a sword. So according to Rab Shimon, chenek is stricter than Saif, and you always give the stricter punishment. So if a kid gives a chabura to his father, or then what's the punishment? Or he kills his father, in addition to the normal punishment of Saif, you get chenek. So we're going to give you chenek. All we know is a shegig of Saif goes to Golos, but a shegig of chenek, which is far stricter, who said you go to Golos? So that Bryce that says you don't go to Golos is Rab Shimon. But the Rabbanan hold that Saif is stricter. So even though it's your own father, you're not going to get the punishment of chenek, you get the punishment of Saif. And Shigiga Saif, if you made a mistake by a cherub, you end up in Golos. So therefore, a kid who kills his father goes to Golos as well. That's our Mishnah. So Rab Shimon, the Rabban, according to the Rabban, the Amr Saif Chama Mechanik, they say Saif is stricter. Choydig of the B'Shegig Shiga Saif. What kind of Shegig is it of a sword? Shiga Saif need kapara, go to kapara. Rabba says, I learned different shot altogether. The Bryce is not talking about killing your father. Rabba pratlo oise chabura baviv. Talking about if you made a wound to your father, you don't go to Golos. Now, why would you go to Golos? Because since we make a wound to your father, you get killed for it. So maybe the shegig of something you get killed for, you go to Golos. So I'm going to mean, keep the mazik back to Allah. No. Hakol go into Yisrael, Chulo, Hakol go into Yisrael, Lashem Michael Kuwad, Lasuyi, Eved Vikusi. Everyone who kills the Yid goes to Golos, including an Eved. If an Eved kills a Yid or a Kusi, the nation of Kusim, whether the Grady Emes or not later on, we decided that we're not going to accept them really as Eden, they also go to Golos. Fanina Laha, we supporting this. The Tanah Rabbi learned, Eved Vikusi, Goyle, Veloika, Yisrael, Eved Vikusi, they go to Golos if they kill a Yid. But they also get Malchus if they did something to a Yid. We'll soon see what that means. The Yisrael, Goyle, Veloika, and same thing, and the flip side is a Yid goes to Golos if it kills a Kusi or an Eved. And he also goes against Malchus. Malchus for what? So Bishleim ever Kusi go to Israel, they kill a Yid, like what do you mean they go Malchus Goyle? What do you mean? The Kotle, he killed him, so therefore they go to Golos. The like, what's the case of Malchus? The Latya. They cursed a Yid. They use Hashem's name when they cursed a Yid, so they get Malchus. El Yisrael Goyle v'loike Kusi. Tell me Yisrael gets Malchus and gets killed by killing a Goy. Bishleim a Kusi. Bishleim a Goyle, the Kotle killed the Kusi, goes to Golos. El Loike, what he cursed the Kusi using Hashem's name. But the din is you don't get Malchus by a Kusi. Why not? Amai the Latya, he cursed him. V'nosi ba'amcha l'sar. It says a Nosi, and that's what we learn out. They not curse anybody with Hashem's name. In your nation, you shouldn't curse. But amcha. Only if he behaves like a Yid, not if he behaves like a Kusi. Is talking about when do you get Malchus by a Kusi. You testify the Kusi deserves something Malchus for some Aveda he did, and turned out to be you're a liar. You're going to get Malchus. So I'm going to ask a question. So with the Kapasi got Evid, so what was the case by Evid? The flip side, that the Evid said false aidus about you. Shahid by Buhuzim, and therefore the Evid will get Malchus against the Yid. Evid by aidus, so we don't accept. We learn in Marbakama that Pecheste that Evid is not kosher to witness. Ella from the Anoshim, and we compare Anoshim with Anoshim, not women, and Evid is compared to a woman. Ella here. You hit him, but you hit him. The Evid hit the Yid and so on. But the din is when you hit somebody, you deserve lashes, and you have to make payments. But if there's if it's, let's say, and the din is, even though normally you don't get two punishments, we make the payment. Because the Torah Shipsa HaTorah we had, the Torah clearly said we want you to make payments. But if it's less than a pruta, the amount of a harm, there's no payment, then you'll get lashes. The Yid to the Eved or the Eved to the Yid. And the loy makshin and hakol klola. We don't equate hakor to klola. No, some people say that we should treat the two the same, hakor or klola, and therefore that since a klola, there's no klola against an ebed because it's not, or a kusi because they're not oisem maisa amcha, at least not by a kusi. But those are Tanaim hold that you don't compare the hakol klon. That's what this mission is going according to. Okay, we continue tomorrow.